Coach Mark, what's going on, brother?
How's it going?
Doing
Doing
very well,
good.
man. Doing very well. I made a post yesterday in the Facebook group and on my personal Facebook page, going over basically this special announcement. And I gotta say, man, there's been a handful of people that asked if we're pregnant, me and Alex having another baby. And no, we are not. We're one and done. We're very satisfied and happy with Oakley. But we do have a special announcement. Mark, what do you think is like the biggest question, in terms of, people inside of the health and fitness tips for men Facebook group? What do you think is like the biggest question that they typically ask you or myself or any of the other coaches?
As far as like their goals, it's definitely the one that I always hear is like, how do I get visible abs?
Yeah, I'd say the same. There's a variety of people, right? Some people ask about nutrition, some people ask about the mindset, but it's typically is like, hey, I got to get rid of this dad bod.
Yeah.
Like I feel either uncomfortable with my, taking my shirt off at the pool with my kids. I feel lethargic. I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. Maybe like, we hear all the time actually that guys got a bunch of their old clothes kind of stuck tucked away in the back of
Oh,
the
yeah.
closet, and it's just like everybody's looking for a solution. And I figured what we do as, before we announce the special announcement that I definitely will, that I think is going to really be a game changer in terms of helping, providing value, but also something that I'll keep that on the DL for now. We'll just say that that's a to be announced, right? But I figure what we do is kind of just go over with you because Mark, you had an amazing, successful transformation. This is before you were a coach, right? Back when you were a client, going through this journey and everything that you learned on how to lose body fat, how to get abs, right? How to train properly, how to do this all to, fit in with your own lifestyle too, it's incredible. It's very inspiring. I figured what we do is before we go over that special announcement, we kind of just go over a quick little interview with how did you get your abs, and so for everybody that's on here right now tuning in, let me just do a screen share. Mark, can you see yourself pretty
I
good?
can. I
I
can.
mean, for anybody that is looking at this right now, this was Mark back in the day, and here's Mark now. And he even has on here his little testimonial video going over the 90 pounds. But Mark, let's kind of go. I mean, it is Thursday, by the way, so let's have a little throwback Thursday conversation, man, shall we? Do
Absolutely.
you remember this guy?
Yeah, I remember him all too well. I think, on the surface, that guy, you know, came across as okay, like because I kind of buried some of the stuff deep down. But deep down, there was a lot of problems going on with that guy. And he didn't know how to fix them. That guy did not know direction, did not know motivation, did not know energy levels. He was just kind of drifting through. I mean, there were parts of his life that were great. I mean, I'll never say a bad word about my family. They've always been great and supportive. But internally, there was a struggle going on where I just was not the me that I wanted to be. And also I had, some deep-seated, fears about heading down the path my dad had gone down. He passed away at 57. And I had some deep-seated, limited beliefs about myself that I couldn't, rise to the occasion physically to turn this around. But, at the same time, I knew that I had to do something. I couldn't continue this way. It wasn't healthy mentally and physically. And that's when I reached out to you originally, and that's when this whole roller coaster, started, and things turned around massively.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember also, it was funny too, because you hit me up on Facebook. You saw my ad, and the first thing you asked was, hey, how much does it cost? And I remember like, dude, I don't know anything about your goals, your
Right.
lifestyle. Like I can't just say, hey, here's a price. It's like if your car is broken, right? Like odds are you call the mechanic and they're going to first say, hey, let me diagnose the car itself first, kind of figure out what's wrong with it before we can evaluate, on a price to fix that solution. It's the same thing with, anybody's health and fitness goals, really just understanding and kind of recapping what it is that they're struggling with, right? Somebody could struggle with nutrition. Somebody could be struggling with their mindset. Somebody could be struggling with training. There's a whole, variety of different things. And I remember you sending me over a message, and the first thing I replied back was like, can I send you over some videos just to kind of help you out first?
Yep.
And you remember that. Do you remember kind of watching some videos about learning a little bit about Heartletics before we had our call?
I do. And I just remember like, watching these videos and thinking maybe there is, something out there that, is different from all these other things that I've tried that got me kind of on that, yo-yo where, you would do something, lose some weight, put it back on, do something, lose some weight. Nothing was sticking. Nothing was helping. In fact, at the time that I reached out to you, I was doing Slim Fast and I was starving and getting nowhere, like no progress at all. And I remember like looking at this and saying like, well, this just looks doable. Like it looks like something that not only I could do, but that they're coming to me in terms of like, bringing the program into my life in a way that fits my schedule, my needs, my routine, my family life. So maybe this is the solution finally.
Yeah, yeah. And let's talk about that, in terms of what you did to come out on top as this guy right now, more confident, smile to your face, shredded, ripped. And it's like, I think what this is going to really do for some viewers out there that's listening, Mark, is give them inspiration. Because I'm sure, there's some other people out there that's probably looking like this right now and feeling like this. And that was uncomfortable, right? You probably wouldn't wish that upon, your worst enemy. And
No,
it's
yeah.
like what they hear from you today in terms of value, in terms of support, in terms of how you got this, I'm just pretty confident, right? Anybody can kind of pick up the pieces and start making some changes happen in their own life. So this is going to be a good one. Let's dive in a little bit more. Let's talk specifically about training. So I guess walk us through, right? So you mentioned, right, we had this call, turned out to be a good fit. You got signed up, but you mentioned a little bit about you were never really active,
Right.
growing up or played sports or anything like that. So coming from your states, right, looking like this, and then through the training regimen, how did you come out on top looking like this?
I think what really happened was that Heartletics progressed with me as opposed to me having to ramp up to Heartletics. I came in as a guy with very, like you said, it just was not an athletic background. And because I didn't like team sports, which was really still to this day probably true, I thought I couldn't be physically active in anything else. It just, that was my identity. And so Heartletics, came along and said, well, what do you have to work with? What's your schedule like? What makes sense for you? And in the beginning, I had very little to work with and, very little knowledge of what to do with it. And my son was on the track team. He had a kettlebell. He said, Dad, you could use it whenever you want, and that was pretty much the beginning. I had that and some very light dumbbells. And Heartletics said, here's, you guys said, here's some stuff you can do with the kettlebells, some circuits, here's some body weight stuff, start moving. And I did. And I found that not only was I capable of doing this, but it was showing me progress, pretty quickly. And I was enjoying it and I wanted to take it to the next level. So, from there I said, okay, what's next? And I think you suggested, well, do you have access to some dumbbells? So, I got some, more, weighted dumbbells that were a little more substantial than what was in the house. Moved on to doing dumbbell work, eventually got the bench and, just cut. But the thing was, nothing was set in stone where it had to continue the way it was or advance at a rate that I wasn't comfortable with. It was adapted versus, where I was at and where I wanted to be and what I was comfortable progressing to at each level. So it really felt like just a natural progression through the whole process where, I went from some very basic circuit work to, ending up with, a bench and a rack and, obviously fell in love with strength training, which to this day, right, I do, 4 to 5 times a week and really enjoy. It's become, one of the highlights of my day. So, thinking back to that guy there, he would never have said anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's talk about some tips now in terms of what are you doing now with your training, right? That works best for your, lifestyle that also somebody else can start implementing into their own lifestyle to start getting results like this. And also, side note, what were those results? I never asked you. I guess like, we just talked about how you looked and how you felt, but tell everybody some data.
Yeah,
What was
absolutely.
your
So,
weights and body fat and where is it today?
so that guy on the left, he came to Heartletics at 257 pounds and roughly 34, 35% body fat. I remember very clearly the day that because right after I signed up with you, I got one of those digital scales,
Yeah.
and I remember doing the body fat percentage, because honestly, I had no idea what my body fat percentage was. It was not in my wheelhouse. And I
Yeah.
remember seeing the number and sending it to you and going, "Oof, like this is what it is." And I'll never forget.
I want to say real quick for anybody that's listening right now, what Mark just said was something very key. He said, I never even knew what my body fat percentage is. I bet you there's probably going to be over 90% of people out here that's listening to this that is going to be in the same situation. And guys, let me just educate you, right? If being over 30% body fat, like there's a lot of health scares to that, not trying to scare anybody, but it's more so education, more so awareness, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, even eventually type 2 diabetes, like, and all this stuff is easily reversible. We Jason Clifford literally just mentioned yesterday in the community group, he just got off his meds, for blood pressure. This is stuff that we've been specializing in for years. So once again, what Mark just said about not knowing his body fat, that's very important. And if you are listening to this right now and you don't know your body fat percentage, just Google search body fat percentage calculator. You'll find it very easy one to use. You put in your data in terms of your age, your height, your weights, some measurements, I believe your neck and your waist, and it would tell you your body fat. And if you are over 30% body fat, then take key notes onto what Mark's about to tell you next in terms of what he's currently doing. All right, side note.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Solid point. And, just to continue what I was saying, right? So I remember sending you after getting that, first calculation and like thinking like, oh my God, like this is hopeless, and sending you a message saying, this is what it is, expecting you to be, right back and be like, oh my God, and your answer was, well, there's no place to go but improvement. And it was such a, yeah, that's right. Like I'm going to improve, this is not the be all end all, but yeah, so 34% I started at, and to date, around 15% or so body fat. My weight went from 257 to currently it floats around 170. So that's about 90 pounds, give or take, depending on, where I'm at exactly through the course of the week. But yeah, and I feel like a completely different person because of that, not just physically, but mentally.
I'm
Um,
sure.
yeah, just, and, now, right, like you talked about, the other people out there. Yeah, absolutely. One of the greatest, things in my life right now is the fact that I get to help other people, move on from that way that I felt back then, to find that light at the end of the tunnel. And as far as how I did it, it was so simple. That was the thing about Heartletics. Like nothing is complicated. It's made just part of your simple daily habits, and suggestions like to get started, right? Movement, right? Just some walking, great way to start. Always, right, if especially if you're coming from a very sedentary place like I was, just starting to get that movement in helps. From there, right, adding some exercise, whether it's body weight stuff, whatever you have capable for, if you have a gym access, whatever it is, everything's custom to you. And then eventually, right, one of the great things you talk about, right, the question about getting abs, right, eventually we moved on to adding ab circuits.
Yeah.
And ab circuits are a great daily practice. They're easy, as far as setting aside, they don't take a large amount of time, and the more you do them, the more you find you're capable of doing them. And so I feel like the ab circuits helped so much because not only did they help in terms of the physical development, you're getting those visible abs, but they help mentally because they're something that you really see improve on a pretty regular basis. So they just kind of give you more of that feeling of winning that keeps you going.
Absolutely. And it's just like it kind of, especially if you do it in the morning, like it kind of sets the tone for the day, right? And there's just something about those ab circuits. I mean, they're 12 minutes long, but when you do them and you can consistently do them, you kind of feel just like proud of yourself. Like, hey, I'm able to stick with this, as opposed to, let's say, a 2 hour long workout or hour long workout where, for some people that's very busy, like a lot of people that we coach, they don't have time to do all that. So like simple habits like, a daily step goal, a daily push-up goal, maybe some ab circuits, right, can really go a long way.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's quick, so it's a quick way to get a win for the day. And once you get that one win, the others keep coming. So it's just a great mental shift as well, in addition to the physical.
Yeah. Now, big disclaimer for everybody, that's tuning in and watching this. You got to understand too, like training, and we always educate our members and always say the same thing. It is just the icing on the cake. Like training should be set up in a way where it best fits your schedule. It's fun and enjoyable, like what Mark was saying, and something that you can consistently, progress with. But the nutrition, that's really going to be the meat and the potatoes. And Mark, nutrition, we can go on for 2 hours talking about that and still not even scratch the surface. I guess tell us a little bit about the nutrition that you kind of, made a routine of or established that was very easy, that worked best for your lifestyle, that somebody else can listen to right now and say, all right, I want to start doing that, or I need to start doing this, or those are some great tips. So let me start implementing that as well.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the whole process was simple. It wasn't anything overcomplicated or, taking hours of food prep or, it was just a very simple process of increasing protein, right? And, making sure you're in your daily calorie deficit. But the thing is, like the way Heartletics structures it, it's much more the word I'm looking for is it's much more sustainable, right? It's not complicated. It's not making you do anything out of the ordinary. It's not making you, exclude your favorite foods or exclude any one food group. It's just part of your daily practice. I remember in the middle of my transformation program, I went on a cruise.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people will say like, well, like I want to get started, but there's travel planned or whatever. I had a blast on that cruise. I didn't deprive myself in any way or feel like I was missing out. But at the same time, I had learned, this was, a couple of weeks into the program, I had learned how to account for myself to eat my favorite foods, to, eat properly in the first part of the day, maybe to allow some splurging in the evening, whatever. I came off of that cruise ship lighter than I went on and without feeling deprived. And I kept active because that had become part of my daily habits as well. Cruise ship, it's easy to get lots of steps in going from place to place. I made sure to take, if I needed longer routes or whatever, just to get those steps in. There was a gym on the cruise. So, it was, something that I made part of my regular, practices throughout the week on that ship. But it was easy. It was not, rocket science, which is, I think, the big thing here.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you say the key thing that most people should focus on eating more of in order to lose more body fat?
Protein, absolutely. It's all, yeah, protein.
Perfect. And
Higher. I was just say your body works harder to metabolize it and digest it. It's going to help you burn fat and build muscle.
yeah, and we always get, typically I would say, I don't know, 85 to 95% of people that apply for our coaching program struggle with having a slow metabolism. And I think a lot of people always believe it's calories in versus calories out. But remember, when you first got signed up for Heartletics, you're doing slim fast, man. You were eating like 1,200 calories a day, which was not sustainable by any means. It's very little food. And so when we say, hey, to our members, try to focus on getting more protein in, we know also from your guys' point of view that at the same time, that's hard, right? That was hard for Mark in the beginning. That's hard for all of our members in the beginning. And it's just like, you got to understand that if you're trying your best to consume, right? And if you don't know your protein goals, let's help them out a little bit, right? Very simple. Take your body weight, multiply it by 0.8. That's going to give you the bare minimum of protein that you should be eating on a daily basis to lose body fat and maintain your lean muscle tissue. Now at Heartletics, we always recommend at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So that might be hard, right? Just starting off, but some words of encouragement, it gets easier. Give your body a chance to adapt. Metabolic adaptation, anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, just depending on that individual. But Mark, in the beginning process, I know it was hard, consuming that protein. Did it eventually get easier for you?
Oh, absolutely. It becomes second nature through time. And the great thing about Heartletics is it was there, through that transition period, showing me like, well, here's, some suggestions, here's what you could eat that will get you more protein more easily throughout the course of the day. Here's some ways of eating, throughout the course of the day that may make it easier for you to hit those numbers. I never felt like I was lost, because there was always, yourself or one of the other coaches ready to say like, oh, you're not hitting your number today. Let's talk about what we could do to make that happen.
I love that, man. That's accountability 101. And we're going to go right into that next because, you mentioned in the training portion, hey, just move more, right? Very simple advice. But what we always like to say at Heartletics is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. It's very easy, but it works, So move your body more. And then obviously, hey, we gave you guys a great protein target to kind of, really focus on consuming, because we know that's going to aid in that nutrition aspect when it comes to the fat loss. But obviously, Mark, there's a lot more to this, not just the training, not just the nutrition side. What else do you think was beneficial in helping you from, once looking like this to now looking like this?
Yeah, and it's what I always tell people. It's the heart and Heartletics. It's the community, right? There's amazing community that comes with being a member of Heartletics, and that is both the coaches who are there for you every step of the way, but also the other members who are in this with you. I call them my second family. Constant source of motivation, constant source of information, right? People just sharing new products they find that work well for, protein goals or whatever, your nutrition goals are, sharing, information that they find along the way, what works for them as far as getting their daily habits in, daily discipline. Just an amazing group of guys who are, there for you. It's such a difference when you do this in that sense of community, as opposed to just on your own trying to, kind of fumble your way in the dark. It's a completely different experience, and it makes all the difference in the world as far as, hitting your goals, because you've got a whole family that won't let you miss those goals.
Yeah, and funny thing, I always mention this to the members. I'll share with this everybody right now. If you have a hard sense of like putting in your head the importance of community, one, think about just going out to war all by yourself, and there's not an army behind you, right? But you got to verse an army. That's going to be very hard to do. Two, think about you playing, I don't know, like football or basketball. Once again, a team sport all by yourself, 1 against 5 in basketball, very hard to do. But I think one that always rings a bell and just gives people a little chuckle is like, imagine if you were at a party, right? You're at some random house and, you're invited to this party and you did not know a soul there for some odd reason, but you had to go to the bathroom. You got stuck on the toilet. You had to take a number two, but you ran out of toilet paper. You would feel uncomfortable, opening up that door and asking for help, asking for someone to toss you a roll of toilet paper. But on the flip side, if you were, ran out of toilet paper in the convenience of your own home with your family there, you're going to feel more comfortable asking for help when you run out of toilet paper. Guys, that's the same thing when we have this vicious battle every single day between the good wolf and the bad wolf, right? The ones that's feeding you the lies that, hey, Mark, you mentioned these self-limiting beliefs way back in the day. I can't get in shape. It's hard, right? Like I have to cut out my favorite foods. I have to cut out alcohol. I have to, do all these long intensive workouts, like all these lies and the temptation, right? And the defeat and all that. It's feeding the bad wolf, but when you have people in your corner that support you and encourage you, it's like that family, to where when that, bad wolf is barking, you have more, initial approach and you feel more comfortable going and asking for help. It's just, unfortunately, most guys, they don't have people in their corner supporting them and helping them out,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mark, let's go over this special announcement, because
Okay.
I think this is what's really going to help people out in terms of how to get results, but also just how to make it simple for them. And that's the key underlying factor that we really want to address. And Mark, like I said, a lot of people were asking about this special announcement. Let me ask you this, right? Because you helped me out big time with Heartletics, being a coach, with the onboarding, with, the fulfillment of creating the personalized workouts for the members, the guidance, even scanning over the restaurant menus, when people need help and assistance. But you also go on a lot of these discovery calls.
Sure.
And what is like the biggest thing on these calls, that people kind of ask about?
As as far as how do they, their end results, it's always the same thing, right? How do I get, lose that, that midsection? How do I reveal my visible abs? I hear it all the time. Everyone says the same thing. When you get to that point in the discovery call, we're talking about what bothers them. It's always the midsection, and how do I reveal those abs?
Yeah. And so we got something special for you guys that's really going to help you out. This took a lot of time into thinking about it in terms of programming this and making this and just talking it over with our team, just really figuring out, like, does this make sense? Should we be doing this? Because I'll be honest, we're not a cheap one size fits all cookie cutter, plan program service provider, right? For somebody's health and fitness goals. Everything, and I kid you not, everything that we do is very personalized, right? It's very hands-on, one-on-one support. And so when it comes to, talking about this announcement that I'm about to share with you guys next, it took a lot of time and recapping and understanding, does this make sense? Would this help somebody? And then also, we need to get some people to test it out. So, Mark, I'm very proud to announce, man, we're having our very first ever, honestly, 14-day ab challenge. And the best part is completely free of charge. Now, as right, after talking to guys inside the Facebook group, everybody always wants to know, what's the price? How much does it cost to get started? And we typically tell everybody, hey, we focus on having a discovery call to, once again, like yourself in the very beginning stages, diagnose the situation. This is something a little bit different. This is something that, somebody's going to get a lot of support in terms of just, these ab circuits for the next 14 days for this specific challenge, but also training and also nutrition. And on top of that, the community, the accountability, the support that we kind of went over. Mark, obviously a lot of guys, do you talk to guys often inside the Facebook group? Do they kind of ask you the same thing?
Yeah. One of the things that people are always asking is, sure, this sounds great, but how do I know what it's really like? How do I kind of experience it, And this is a fantastic opportunity. The value here is amazing because you're going to see, yes, you're going to get access to this amazing 14-day ab challenge, right? Which is going to be mind-blowing, but also you're going to get to experience what it's like being in the Heartletics program over that 14 days, the access to the coaches, the access to the community group, all these things that are just going to be like basically pulling the curtain down and showing you this is what Heartletics is.
Yeah, it's like we always like to say our coaching service isn't like a CarMax, right? Where you can just go on the lot, pick out anything, but it's eventually going to break down. We're kind of like the Ferraris, right? The Lamborghinis, right? Where it's to get you the results that you're looking for, going from having a broken down car to, something that you can feel proud of yourself, confident, that's like the biggest thing. And this is the opportunity to kind of test drive Heartletics a little bit. But, obviously this is going to be the biggest thing, Mark, that we need to kind of come in agreement. And I figure we just do it right now. Even though we're live right now in this video, a lot of people ask you, a lot of people ask me, how many spots should we even open up for this enrollment? Because if you think about it, this is going to be still hands-on, a lot of value, a lot of support, a lot of, coaching cues that help somebody out. We can't train. I know for a fact, as soon as I put this on my mailing list, I'm going to have at least a couple hundred people asking about, enrollment and how to apply and whatnot. How many people do you think we should limit this to, just to kind of test things out? We get some great results, we were able to provide that value, provide that 24/7 support, like how we do. But at the same time, it's not enough to where, we can't run thin. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's got to be manageable because we've got a lot going on and, we've got the other clients as well. I don't know. Do you think we could handle more than, 10?
I think so. But yeah. Why don't we make it 20 for right now?
All
just
right.
Because I think that if we got 20 people in there, we can make sure that everything's dialed in. Once again, we provide them the help. Also if they want to schedule an onboarding call with you to go over how to use the app, going over the Discover tab with, all the different, let's just say recipes that Coach Katrina makes. Also, at the same time, they can have that convenience to where if they're ever, traveling or need some restaurant recommendations, it's literally available for them right there. Let's make it 20, because obviously we still have people applying for our coaching program. So it's like, we can do the onboarding calls, we can do, the discovery calls. 20 people is a good fit. I like that. So guys, you're probably wondering, how do you apply for this? Well, for starters, there is a website, and I'm going to post this. If you're watching this inside of the Facebook, I'm going to post in the comment section. If you're watching this on, let's say, YouTube, it's probably going to be in the the description tab. But let me just go ahead and play this real quick. Welcome to the 14-day ab challenge. Inside of our 14-day ab challenge, you're going to find the best workouts to train your core effectively. The best part is these ab workouts are only 12 minutes long, so you don't need to invest a lot of your time, and you can do them wherever you want. For this challenge, you're not going to need any equipment at all. We're simply going to be using body weight ab exercises to get you the results that you're looking for. And on top of that, you're going to have exclusive access to our training app, where you're going to get help with nutrition, community, and most importantly, accountability. There are very limited spots for this challenge. So if you are interested, click on the link down below and get signed up today. What you think, Mark?
Awesome. I'm jealous that there was no such opportunity when I signed up. This is great.
I know, and you know that everybody loves these ab circuits too,
Oh
you know.
yeah. Oh yeah, they're fire.
So it's really simple, guys. If you're interested, like I said, spots are limited. We're just going to hold it to 20 people. This is going live right now. So who knows? By the time we get done publishing this video and actually posting on YouTube and putting it to the mailing list, we might already be fully booked. But it's very simple. You just click on the sign up form. It's going to bring you to a Google Doc sheet. And we just want to know some information about you, just your name, your occupation, obviously, because all this helps, right? You know, your health and fitness goals, what you tried before in the past, if you have any, medications that you're on, because once again, that is something that we focus and specialize tremendously at Heartletics is, helping our members get off their blood pressure, cholesterol, and even reversing their type 2 diabetes, and just some frustrations and how long that you've been struggling with this. And lastly, if you want to have a personal conversation with Mark, going over your workouts, going over the app, you can obviously just request that right here and put in your phone number. So with that being said, Mark, we're live, brother. Off to the races. And what would you say before I end the recording as far as like, what is the last piece of advice or tip, from somebody that, started off as a client and here you are today as a coach, and now we're rolling over for the first ever, 14-day ab challenge, completely free of charge. What would you say as last little bit of advice?
I'd say two things. One is you can do this because if I did what I did, anyone can do this. I came from zero to coaching, right? So, that's all I'll say. And it's one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. So you could do this, one. And two, just remember, step by step, build on small daily habits, and they'll get you where you want to be. And we are here for you every step of the way to help you do it.
I love it. I love it. With that being said, this has been Coach Joe, Coach Mark with Heartletics.com, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out, Girl Scouts.